Hello, hello. Welcome again to the All In podcast with Nate Pale. I am your host, Nate Pale. Today's guest is Joel Clelland, and Joel is a guy I met through social media and the power of networking online. And then you realize that they live and work just down the street from you. So we got together for a cup of coffee, had a little chit chat a few weeks ago, and decided we wanted to do a little podcast, a little conversation, and we're really chatting about what happens when you make connections on social media. You use it as a tool for building relationships, for meeting people, for creating friendships. And you want to just be open about taking those relationships past being a digital connection to an online in-person meeting. So we talk all kinds of fun stuff about social media and our take on what's going on right now with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, and how this is going to reshape the way people make connections in the future. So I thought it was a very interesting conversation and hope you dig it and hope you like what we had to say. So without further ado, here's going to be Joel. And at the end of the show, if you don't already, subscribe to the show. And if you found value in it, please tell one or two other people about the show so they can hear about it too.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with Nate Peo, the show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello, welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Pale. I am host Nate Pale. I'm joined today with Joel Clelland, and Joel is a man of many hats and many wondrous things. But the reason why we're having this conversation, hey Joel, is that we've used social media to make a connection between each other. In a business sense of purpose. We met on a Facebook group that was revolving around unconventional leadership. And we started chatting and there's like encouragement in the group, like, hey, get to know one another. And we said, hey, let's chat. And then turns out like we worked basically down the street from each other. So we decided to meet up for coffee. And then, after coffee, we said, hey, let's continue a conversation. So I guess the purpose of this show is to just really demonstrate what happens when you meet people on social media. You use social media for connecting with people and how that can turn into a in real life encounter, whether it just happens to be by luck you're down the street from each other or a chance to meet across the world somehow. And especially how that the times we're going through right now, depending on when you listen to this, is the coronavirus is in full ramp up mode. It's getting kind of spooky out there. And I think everybody's using social media as a way to make new friendships, but also keep old friendships current and still connect with people and have a relationship with people since we can't go meet and see people in real life. So welcome to the show, Joel.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Nate. I totally agree with what you just said. You don't mind if I go off for just
no. Go for it.
You talked for a while ago, and I did a Twitter poll maybe a month back. I was, why are people using social media? And number one reason people use social media is for purposes to de-escalate. And Twitter has a personality, but it kind of transfers across all the social media platforms. Most people are still using it solely for entertainment or to escape. And one of the things that Nate and I have seen, and he agrees, is that it's really becoming the number one way to communicate, especially during this COVID-19 crisis, the coronavirus. People are finding new ways to stay connected. And I was actually surprised because we did meet in a Facebook group called Unconventional Leaders. And I didn't realize you were as close as you were. I figured you were Western United States, and probably California. But when we found out we were literally, right down the street from each other. Our offices were very, very close. We were able to meet up in person. And that's one of the things I want to try to get to people is that, there's people who have a handle or a name, a profile name on social media, and that's kind of a fictitious person that they're living vicariously through. It's probably even their name, but your name is Pale. My name is Joel Clelland, and the people we are in real life, quote unquote, is the same person we are on social media. And so we see it as just another way that we can connect with people and engage with them, whether it's for business or for pleasure or for personal, professional development. And so, I'm just happy to hop on your show, Nate, because you're doing so many wonderful things. And I'm very impressed with what you're doing across the platforms. I did download TikTok, but I haven't used it yet. So I'm sure you'll be able to chase this.
TikTok a funny platform because, I've tried to explain it to people, like, what's TikTok? And I'm like, well, you kind of have to get it, and you kind of have to scroll through it for a few hours, because if I just told you what it is, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's people lip syncing, it's people doing dances, it's people dressing up in cosplay, it's people quoting movie quotes and doing their different takes on it, and it's like these trending things, and you get this You start following people and you start seeing them, and you kind of you resonate with their personality because you're seeing how they do things, what they find as humorous, what their take is on things, and you kind of start to feel like them in this sense, versus maybe like an Instagram or a Facebook where it's like a snapshot of their best times. You're seeing somebody's creativity,
right,
which is really, really cool. I haven't figured out how to interact in a sense. Like, different platforms are different for things. Like Facebook, it tends to be people you're already connected to as friends, and you're seeing what people's lives are about. Instagram is more like this visual experience, and you like things. Sometimes you comment on things, and sometimes you move into direct messages. LinkedIn is very much so about interacting with people and engaging in the comments, engaging in the likes, and then having conversations. And most people do use LinkedIn for business, and so that they try to turn a connection in LinkedIn into a business transaction, which I disagree with. I think that should be the end game. I think your role in any social media or any relationships is you're trying to really understand the person as who they are on a personal level, rather than this transactional level. And then there's Twitter, which Twitter's kind of a wild west of anything goes, and you can
wild west.
Yeah, you see all sorts of people, and it's very polarizing sometimes. So TikTok
it can be.
A lot of fun.
The funny thing about Twitter is I kind of saw Twitter several years ago the way you were explaining TikTok, where I hopped on it for like a hot minute, and then I hopped right back off because I was like, I don't understand this. So, but then, so only about 14 months ago, I decided to get serious about Twitter specifically, and I got on there and I tried to figure it out. Like you said, a few hours working on TikTok. You have to do the same thing on any platform, just to try it, see what are other people doing, how are they using it to communicate. Is it for personal branding? Is it just kind of people your personality or your creativity?
Mm-hmm.
I like the concept of TikTok, even though I haven't opened it up yet, because I guess, from what people have been telling me, you included, is you can develop this and then you can transfer it to other platforms. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of people that I follow on TikTok that have they do a lot of the trending dances, and maybe it's not relatable to their business in the immediate sense of this dance is their dance with their product they're selling. But what it does is you start you're creating an interest in yourself. And this is it across all the platforms of social media, is really, if you're in it for networking and connecting with people, you're showing a glimpse of who you are so people can relate to you. And the more you show, the more relatable you are, and the more easier you are to connect to. I get when you got tons and tons of followers and you're getting bombarded with requests for your time and attention all the time. It's hard. It's easy to shut that out and not want to do it. But when you're showcasing a part of you on TikTok or any platform, people say, "Who is this person that's very interesting?" And then you go to their bio, and their bio usually says something briefly about them, and another place you can find them, and then you go to that place. So if you're like killing it on TikTok, and somebody goes to your profile and says, "Hey, go check out my Facebook page or go check out my Shopify store," all of a sudden you go in there and you, "Oh, this is really cool." And chances are the reason why you're following them and you're engaged with them is you like what they are doing as a person. You have a relationship with them. You support the people. People always say people do business with people they're friends with. And when you've developed this... Yeah, you've developed this rapport with somebody. Maybe it's just a visual rapport that you engage with them, you trust them, you like what they're doing, and then you go to their store and you find out that they are selling products that have interest to you because obviously you found them because you have a similar interest in what they're promoting on their other platforms, and then you already have a level of trust to make a purchase for them. So it tends to grow your other social media channels. Everything is everything. You get people circling around. And then when you grow one, and you bring people from one platform and it grows another, because you're growing that, you're also getting more people from that same platform to kind of roll into you. And so everything becomes everything. It all grows together. And then your brand becomes more cohesive and you're able to do more business. So you can take it from being, very millennial, doing weird dances that don't make sense, to just another person, the same person that runs our Facebook group. She does a lot of the same trends with a theme about podcasting or a theme about mindset and growth and becoming a leader. And because she does that, like, it's her own spin on it. It's still brand specific, but it's still enjoyable. And you're seeing a different side of this person than it's a LinkedIn more serious or a Facebook more coaching type personalities. So it's so important, I think, to treat your social media as who you are as a person and be true to that, because essentially it's all about connecting with people and having relatable experiences. And if you can meet those people in real life and have coffee with them or a cocktail, whatever it is, they feel like they should know you and you should be representative of all that. And
I think I've found that to be true. And, like you were saying, people, if they look at your profile, like I just opened up Instagram and my handles is Joel_Clelland. Again, it's me. Yours is Nate too. And if you look at what I do, I've got a master's degree in education, money, insurance, service, volunteerism or volunteer, community, and then it has some of my favorite emojis. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very, very basic, but it's like you get a sense of who I am. If you hop on my Twitter profile, it says that I've got 5 kids. Mm-hmm. And for all the gals, because you're a good-looking guy, we got to bat the girls sometimes because we're married men. And so we say we're happily married with kids. And so, sometimes that still doesn't shut some ladies down, but you do the best that you can. You gotta have fun with it, right? So, but you were mentioning Heather Parody from Unconventional Leaders. I think you were alluding to her because I'm thankful to Heather because she's the reason that I think we connected, because we connected through her group. Mm-hmm. But I think it's an amazing medium, and I think people who aren't at least trying to get on social media on some level, especially business people, we're not branding themselves on social media. Maybe they're still doing traditional ads or traditional marketing, traditional grassroots, which, obviously we should do all of that. I think they're really missing an element. And I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but I think people who do social media, businesses that do, I think they see an uptick of over 40% or something like that in their business expansion and growth numbers, But aside from business, I totally agree with you that when you make a new connection with someone, you don't go right to transactions. It's not like the machine gun effect where you're trying to have business right away or throwing the spaghetti at the wall. Because if someone's throwing spaghetti at me, I think they want to be my friend. I think they really want to get to know me if I'm the wall for their spaghetti, so to speak.
Yeah. So because of where we're at in the COVID-19 situation,
Right.
the importance of having social media is going to be so much more important, and it's going to be important that not only you're on social media, but you're familiar with digitally connecting with people in a conversation like we are now, or like in like a
Right.
Facebook Live, or like a FaceTime with multiple people. Because you're like me in this old school industry where it's
Right.
all about personal meeting people in person. There's coffee meetups, there's happy
Right.
hours, there's industry events, there's trade shows,
Lots
there's
of handshakes, and we're not
yeah,
handshaking anymore.
yeah. So because we're not doing that, how do you stay connected to people you do business? How do you stay connected to your referral partners, or how do you stay connected to your community? And it's really going to be being creative in the way you do things. I've seen a lot of people start hosting these virtual happy hours or virtual coffee meetups where there's like 4 or 5 people like, hey, let's just get on a Zoom call right now. And they're not doing this to record it for a podcast or a show. They're not doing it for any promotion. It's just, hey, I'm at home, you're at home, we're stuck, we're not talking to anybody. Like, when was the last time you were like within 6 feet of somebody, which is incredibly
Right.
absurd to
You
even
actually
think that
wouldn't
you could
say
go
that.
a day without it. And here we are going
Right.
weeks without even getting near anybody. And
True.
and we're going to lack, as a human species, we're going to lack this intimacy, this communication that we're so used to and so natural. I mean, that's why we were able to evolve as a species, was because we formed communities, and we formed families,
Right.
and we formed tribes that grew to cities and towns and all this stuff. So I think
Right.
people are going to really need to embrace digitally what this means. But there's like a plus, and there's like a benefit to it. Like, I'm going to use an example that I've been thinking a lot about, is the idea of a boutique gym. And so a boutique gym is like a yoga class, a spin studio, a bar class, something where there's an instructor, and the class consists of usually like 10 to 13 students, and you maybe have like 100, 150 members, and it serves the local
Right.
community. And what there's going to be is like, all of a sudden, boom, we can't go out, we can't go to the gym, we can't go to these classes anymore. So they're starting to host these virtual classes via Zoom or via Facebook Live or via a FaceTime to keep their students engaged. And you go,
Right.
you look at it in this mindset and go, okay, that's solving the current problem, but there's no reason why, when this is past us, which is going to get past us and life's going to continue on, we just don't know when, but it's going to continue on. Like, why wouldn't you continue doing exactly that and expand your reach? Like, you're already teaching a class. You're going to have a minimal investment to add a camera and a Wi-Fi connection that you probably already have the Wi-Fi connection, and a little bit of lighting so it comes off a bit more professional, and you're going to do a little bit of time to promote it, but all of a sudden you can serve the 100 and 150 people in your local community, but you could easily support another 1,000, 2,000 people. And these are like super conservative numbers. There's going to be people that take
Right.
this model and serve 200,000 or 300,000 people, and you can charge
Right.
$4 or $5, and all of a sudden you've essentially doubled your income, doing exactly what you've done now, and no really added effort other than like a bit more promotion and ads, just to kind of get the word out on a global scale. But I think if you grow an online presence, people are going to want to come to the destination. They want to travel to Mecca and visit the real studio. And then there's people
Right.
that are going to be
Right.
local that are going to find it digitally and be like, hey, that's down the street, I want to be a part of
I
that.
know, it's
And then,
right there.
yeah. And then there's people that are going to be in the studio and go, I can't always make the classes, but I got a membership to the back end. I'm traveling. I can take the class remotely. I can take a previous version of the class. And there's companies, SoulCycle, Peloton, they're already doing this, and they have huge marketing budgets behind them. But I think just the average person, the average studio with, a mom and pop shop can easily just explode on this, and it's going
Right.
to grow everybody. So why wouldn't you, if you're already having coffee and connecting with people in your local community, why wouldn't you want to have coffee with somebody in Florida? Why wouldn't you want to have coffee with somebody in Chicago? Like, you're able to expand this network of people that you connect with on a personal level. They're like your people, your tribe, the people that like the things you like. And it's going to be so much easier, and people are there's going to be this tipping point of people adopt. If you want to go buy a webcam right now, you can't find one on Amazon. You can't find one at the store. Everybody is working remotely and trying to adapt to this digital thing. So there's now a tipping point of adoption of people like, hey, I'm used to being on Zoom meetings. I'm used to talking to people digitally. Now, why wouldn't we just keep going with this and just really expand who we can connect with and find our people? We're going to find so many great friendships that we never thought possible just because they didn't live down the street from us. Now we're going to find that we can meet these people who have no idea who they are. So that was a bit of a rant. Sorry, I kind of went off on that.
No. I'm glad you went off on that for a little bit, Nate, because, I saw that in reality. My kid's martial arts studio down the street, it's a boutique gym, if you will. And, one of the instructors is doing two videos a day at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. for the students. And it would be very simple for him to expand that across the nation, or like you said, globally, and get not just more engagement for the studio, but for his specific brand as well. Because we get to know each other's personalities and connections through this, and not everybody is the same connection. The gym down the street you might not connect with the people that work there, but then you got someone in Georgia where Heather Parody is, and maybe there's somebody there that has a connection, and you're like, what, I really tap into them, and you can be one of their electronic members, if you will.
Right.
I see this developing more and more and more. And, I think as we become more comfortable with the different platforms, and just with, simple stuff like talking into the camera or hearing your own voice on playback, things like that. I mean, some of that's very normal for someone who starts to do this type of work for the first time. I hear that all the time. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way that I sound. And my response to that is always, well, you got to do it again and again and again and again. You got to do more and more so you become more comfortable, not just seeing yourself, but then, like as Tony Wally says, looking in the right direction, and having the right proximity from the camera itself. And then, I see your nice looking microphone and cans. I'm gonna be upgrading one of these days too. But but it's just I think not shying away from the platform. I'm in financial services, so everything's compliance, and people have to know that as long as you're not promising something that your firm can't back up, as long as you're not doing anything illegal or unethical, you're just making a connection. That's all we're doing. You're making a connection. Like you said, Nate, we're making friends. And we're making friends that we wouldn't have made otherwise. I mean, your office is literally around the corner from one of my offices, and we wouldn't have known each other otherwise except for social media.
Oh, exactly. Like there's no way we would ever. We might have crossed paths, bumped into each other at the coffee shop, but it would have been a cold encounter. It would have gone. It would have been like, excuse me, sir. Yes, you're excused. Pardon me. And we.
You're looking sharp, sir. What do you do?
Yeah. So it's a fantastic time to be alive. I mean, it's definitely it's very hard. It's very challenging right now, but. The world is going to change rapidly from this, and the way we can communicate with people, and the way we connect with people, and the way we do business.
It's never going to go back.
It's not going to go back to the way it was. There's going to be a massive change. I don't know where it's going to go. I can't predict that, but I'm just kind of starting to see like the level of adoption of people reaching globally is going to grow so big. And there'll be so many opportunities to interact with people, communicate with people you'd never ever had the opportunity to meet under other circumstances. I mean, there was the way, but I don't think it's going to be so much more. Like the floodgates have failed. It's going to pour in, and all of a sudden you're going to be exposed to ideas you didn't know. You're exposed to different ideas. It gives you creativity. It gives you ideas. People are just going to come up with crazy creative things, and we're just going to be blown away. I mean, you imagine what life was like when did people start getting iPhones? Like 2007, 2008, the iPhone kind of came up, and I remember like somebody say, "Oh, I got an iPhone. I'm kind of cool." And now it's like everybody's got this smartphone and they're connected socially. It's gonna go berserko once everybody's connected on this like realistic platform that you can just hop on. AI is going to take off the Amazon Alexa stuff. You're going to be surprised. You'd be like, "Hey, Alexa, connect me to the coffee group in China," and boom, you're in there having coffee with your buds from China.
They say coffee group in China.
I don't know. Maybe they're drinking tea. Who knows?
I drink my tea every.
The world's going to get exceptionally smaller, and the easier we're able to share ideas, the faster the growth and explosion would say. I heard something interesting is I was listening to an Ed Milet podcast, which is odd because I never listen to his podcast. I subscribe to it, but I don't listen to it.
I think he's great.
Yeah. And he had on an author that talks about flow. And I don't remember the author's name, but everybody knows what flow is. We've heard a lot about flow, but he talks about because people are understanding the mind better and understanding communication better, that we're going to see a revolution of we're going to like double where we've come in the next 20 years that we've done in like the last 200, something to that effect. If you just kind of look at where you were 100, 150 years ago, no airplane, they're just developing the train system. Like there was the telegraph, and like, where are we at today? Like imagine that level of technology advancement happening in 20 years. It's going to be mind boggling what happens. And even the stuff that they're talking about now doing that's real is mind boggling. And as soon as it becomes like hits the masses. So I just think we're in for a massive shift of how we communicate with people and how we connect. And it's going to be very, very exciting times.
I think so. And it's interesting. You talk about flow. I mean, Nate, I'm sure you'd agree. You and I are both into personal and professional development. We're constantly learning. And, we're not afraid to learn. We're not afraid to break through. We're not afraid to make ourselves uncomfortable. And so for people who've kind of, stayed away from social media, or they're very timid about it, maybe they have a private Facebook page with their friends and family, and that's about it. I think they're really missing the boat because, like you said, things are expanding rapidly. And I've heard this and I've read it about the brain, that when the brain learns something new, it expands, or the brain changes physically, physical change, and they can never shrink back to the way that it was before.
No,
that's the human brain.
I would agree with that.
And so I think social media and engagement and communication using social media, branding using social media, creating relationships through social media, that's something that's not going away. And like you said, I mean, 5-6 years ago, I still had a flip phone.
Right.
I mean, well, maybe it's a little bit longer than that. But when I moved to my first smartphone, which was some type of droid, I can't even remember what it was, but it was about this. It was considerably smaller than the smartphones I use now. It's just it's fascinating to me. I can't imagine going back because I can do everything on my phone, pretty much. Pretty much everything, and people believe that about the smartphones, but they don't always believe that about social media.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so trying to kind of explain that to people is kind of almost a waste of time and energy. People that are going to get it are going to get it, and for those of us that are like trying to be engaged, maybe we're using Gary V's formulas for being on social media, but we're trying to be engaged. We're trying to bring good value. We're trying to bring creativity to the social media platforms. I think we're figuring it out. It's like any challenge. With me last year on Twitter, my challenge was I was on Twitter years ago for a hot minute, got off of it. I'm going to be serious about this. I'm going to really try to figure this out. And, the thing about Twitter, it could be whatever you want it to be. It could be a cesspool, it could be for entertainment, or it could just be another extension of your branding across social media. And that's what it is for me. I'm the same guy on Twitter that I am on Instagram, that I am on Facebook, that I am even on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, I always dress like this or with a coat, but it's still the same guy for that specific platform.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we'll start seeing your social media platform will be kind of like when you see a flyer for a meetup, or there's a website for a meetup, or somebody tells you for a meetup, you'll say, hey, I have an interest in something and I want to get connected to people that have the same interest as me. And you'll start looking for it. And maybe like right now, if you do that, you find like a Facebook group, or you find like an Instagram profile or a page or a hashtag that you follow, and you engage a little bit there. But it's going to lead to now there's meetups for it, and people are more accepting of a digital meetup, and you're able to go to an in-person thing and a virtual thing. They'll stop being this either or. It'll be like, if you're having an in-person meeting, there will also be a way for people to drop in digitally.
Right. And I think that kind of coincides with what you said about boutique gyms, or, like you said, a spin class or something. The mom and pop businesses, whatever they may be, if they start to kind of get that social media is not going away, they might just have a camera in the background.
They'll be advantageous to compete with big businesses, like you said, that have restrictions and compliance in place. They'll be like, okay, the people that are able to be nimble and make friendships and relationships across large amounts of people, they're going to win the game. And the people that are like doing traditional old school media, and you're like, oh, you can't talk about this or that. It's like, okay, we get that, but the people that are going to be on the front lines are going to make these connections, and it's going to go like, it's going to be more about the people and less about the brand and the business. People are going to go where the people are. So I don't think the fundamentals of life and relationships will change. They're just going to adapt to the new tools.
Right. And Nate, I don't know if you've ever considered this or thought about it, but there's two investors I know personally. They're friends and they're investors who want to remain anonymous. So they're big fans of their anonymity because they're very successful. And my thing is that, okay, you want to be anonymous, that's fine. You can have the monkey handles on social media. You can not even be on social media. If you've developed your life in such a way where you can completely avoid social media, or you're not really engaged on social media, that's fine. It's not for everybody. You and I, we're taking the exact opposite approach. Everybody knows, hey, this is Nate Pale, this is Joel Clelland, or I know it came up as Douglas Clelland. For those of you who don't know, my middle name is Douglas. On my birth certificate. So some of these Zoom meetings, I come up with Douglas or Joel, but same guy. But the thing is, is it for everybody? No. But for most people, this is how you're going to be connecting with people on at least some level. I mean, I located people. I think we talked about this at coffee a while back. I connected with people through Facebook that I wasn't even sure they were still alive. One of my groomsmen from my wedding, I totally lost track of him. That's my fault. He moved out of state, lost track of him. He wasn't engaging with me. I wasn't engaging with him. I wasn't even sure he was still alive. And I found him on Facebook. Yeah. And it's great because now we've been meeting up. When he's in state, we meet up. He stays with me, all of those things. So, whether it's personal engagement or professional engagement, I think social media is something to at least understand on some level.
Yeah. I would go back to your investor friends and say, by being anonymous, I get the reason for that, but I think if you're looking out for your interests long term, that's going to be a challenge. And think of it this way: if you just walk from your place of living to your place of employment or income every day, and you take the same path every day, and you say hi to the same people every day, you're only exposed to those things, and they become you become complacent in them. Like the crack in the sidewalk, you just remember it's the crack in the sidewalk. You never think that maybe I should fix it, or maybe there's a better thing that should happen. And so if you're not expanding the ideas you're exposed to and the people that you're around, and you're not constantly looking for new neural connections, but through new experiences, you're going to just kind of like be in this safe zone. And we all know the safe zone turns into the danger zone because we're not growing and we're not expanding. So it may serve its purpose in the short term, but if you're not willing to adapt and continue to keep up with the way life's changing, you're going to miss the opportunities and the people and the connections, ideas that are available to you. So to each his own, but that's my take on it. Hey, I got to kind of run here.
Can I ask one quick question about that?
Yeah, for sure.
You say that the days of just having a nice website and an email address have gone?
Yeah. I think they've been gone for a long time. I agree. I think now we're going to have digital meetups are going to be the new thing, and you're going to want to host it somewhere or be a key a co-host. If you're not the host, you're going to want to drop in on a lot of these too. You want to be an active member digitally. So
right. Yeah, no,
think about, and you say, I don't have time for that. Okay.
I know,
yeah, you do. Because now you don't have to drive 15, 20, 30 in California, an hour and a half to some trade show. Like, and the time it would take you to drive a half hour, be there for a half hour, and go home for a half hour, you could have dropped in like 4 or 5 different digital meetups. So to say
that's true. That's true. Even for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever there's physical meetups, sometimes I'm there for 15 or 20 minutes. So why couldn't you jump in on a virtual meetup? I totally agree. Cool. Well, Nate, how are we doing on time?
Lost my headphone there.
No, that's okay. I know we're at 20 till the top of the hour.
Well, I gotta get off here shortly. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics.
I think so too.
Conversation, and I wouldn't mind doing this again and check in a few weeks and just say, hey, what's changed? What have we seen adapt? Did we? It may be too soon to see if our predictions came true, but I think we'll start seeing a shift in mindset of what people are doing, and maybe we'll have some other ideas around it. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks a lot.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.